So we've seen how the business insight works. So let's power the business insight with processes so we can actually get this populated for our own understanding. So we can actually go to this navigation called process. On that process, we have something called a process vault, and we have process ranking. So under the process vault, we can click into the process vault. It's very self-explanatory what a process vault is. So a vault is where you keep things, is where you keep a log of things, for example. So you can look at this as like your Excel or your Jira kind of tracking of all your processes. So I can add in a new process now, and I'm going to call this process account closure. So this is another one that you need to look at on the right hand side, what I'm hovering around. And let's see, do I get this option? I don't. But what you get with the queue, for example, is if you're using UiPath or Blue Prism, it doesn't necessarily matter what RPA tool you are using, because the tool is very tool agnostic. So it just means that if you have a UiPath queue, you can connect that to your UiPath queue. So at the moment, I don't have a queue. I can't put in a queue. I can put in a description. Close bereaved customers account. So the next thing I can do is I can put in, or I can select my department. So let's say my department is information technology, but let's just see, what does this ad do for us? What can I do with the ad? So I can create a new department. Let's call these reconciliation and billing, which is interesting because you can actually configure this to whatever you want it to be. So I've added a new department called reconciliation and billing. So the next thing I can add is I can add in a new, sub department underneath. So let's say I don't like any of these departments or any of the sub departments. So let's just include a new one called this is not an actual sub department, but let's just call it billing. And okay, I can select billing right now. So the next thing I can do is I can select the process stage. So this is also very good. This is also gives me a bit of information about all of this all of this text. So let me select the process stage. I can select the discovery, just say the process in the discovery phase. What's the status? I'd say the status is new. When did I start the process? Let's say I started on a weekday. I started on the 21st. And when do I plan to end this? Let's say my discovery phase in the known world could take, let's say, a month or so. So I put in a month for discovery phase. So the next thing is just to go next. And the good thing is it's quite intuitive. You can actually see what's left based off of this. So this allows you to record the process details, the contact details, process metrics, and business metrics, process costs, and documents. So if we're talking about the process lead, at the moment I'm just the only person. So I think this is what the freemium allows you to do. I can select myself as the process lead, and I can, let's say I put in my email address as well here. I'm going to select Ireland because I'm in Ireland and I don't have any other international number. So we can select next. So this is another one as well. What's the SME availability? This is really important if you are trying to if you're trying to complete your process on time. So let's just say hi. This is maybe realistic. Maybe I want this process to be completed really soon. So define business rule. I'd say it's a medium. Do I have test data? I'd say yes. Do I have test environment available? No. What are the number of apps? Let's just make it a bit more complicated. Let's say I have 15. And what's the input source? Let's say I believe some of all these values can be configured, like some of this drop down can be configured, but I don't have admin access. So let's just make it more complicated. I say it's a Citrix application, and the number of screens, I'll call it, I think I must have pressed the wrong. I'll call it number of screens. I'll say, let's make it much more complicated. So let's say 25 number of applications. Application involved. It's Citrix. The input source. The input source was Citrix. The application involved. Let's say I'm just selecting something random here, but I think I can select more applications as well. Scan documents, Windows application. I can select let's see, I can select email. I just put them now I'll leave them for now. So number of steps invoked. So I believe this is if you were counting step count. So I put in 500. So is there any reusable existing code? I would say 5 to 25%, especially if I've started building some, let's say, objects in the scenario Blue Prism, or I've started building some workflows or UI path. So what's my exception rate? So considering it's a Citrix application, so I'm probably looking at 5 to 25% might be okay. And because I've put in scan document, will I say it's a structured data? Probably not really so much of a structured data. So I'd say it's a medium, right? But that just means that input source, let me put a scan document as well, just to make it more realistic. So Citrix in use, yes. Human intervention, I'll say medium, really. Next. So let's have a look at the number of employees working. So this just means the number of employees working on the process. Let's say I just leave it at 0 for now. That just means that, let's say it's a new process and nobody's currently working it. Or let me just leave it at 0, it doesn't really matter. So the average hours spent per day, so I'll put it 7. This is just working hours. The salary is 40k, could be more. Working days 225. Number of transactions per year, let's say 20k. The ideal average handling time, it's 5. One-off benefits, I'll put it as 0 for now, and the average cost to handle the process is 0. So we're talking about the benefit drivers. I put in cost reduction. I can put in as, you know what, you can put in as much as possible, really, depending on what looks good to your company. So let's select next. So yeah, we're talking about the process cost. So I'm just gonna add more because I know I can get more details here. So the cost type, I'd select development. The cost description, I'd say development cost. So the start date for me, let's say I put in the first. Let's say I'm a project manager. So let's say I can put in 2022, and let's say I put in next here as the development, and the start date, this might be, again, this is a large process, so I'm expecting that to take some time. So it's 2022, and the total cost, so we're looking at around 12k for development costs. So I can go ahead to put in next. So I don't have any files to add in, so but you can actually put in files if you have. I can save this. So that brings you here, just the very start. But there's something interesting about this, view. You can actually change the view to something else. By default, it's on this view, but you can change this to look like this, which is sort of the kanban view. And that this also can be configured, but again, I think you'll need the premium version to configure this. So by default, it has development, UAT, manage, go live, production. So let's take a look at the process ranking. So with the process ranking, I actually like the way I can hover around this, and this tells me my ROI, my RPA, suitability, and process complexity. So process complexity, which probably makes sense, 73, that's a whole lot, the process complex, and 66% suitable for RPA. So normally this is when you start involving, let's say, intelligent automation tools to help out with some of these complexities. So it's almost the same breakdown you get here as well, just around the bottom of this. Then the interesting thing as well is you can change the chart. By default is on bar chart, but you can change this to a pie chart. But the thing is, it's not as interesting as you would expect, because it's just one process I have at the moment. And group bar chart, just make it look a little bit different. And so lastly, let's get back into what we were seeing originally, which was the dashboard. So let's get into Business Insight. So at this point, Business Insight should be looking much more interesting. And you can see, based on our first video, that was empty, but that's now populated based on the values we've provided. So you can see the process, the cost saving, the time saving, total transactions, NPV, ROI, payback period within 3.4 months, which is pretty interesting. So this is how this looks like, and you can always change this as well. Let's say you have more processes, you can always toggle around different processes, look across different years as well. So pretty interesting, if you ask me. So this is the last video for this series, but I hope you enjoyed it. So do register for the community version and let me know how you found it. So pretty much, thanks, bye.